For centuries, we've been trying to figure out this little 3-pound universe we all have inside our skulls. And for most of that time, the entire scientific world was built on one huge fundamental mistake. This is the story of the revolutionary science that finally corrected that mistake. The science of how our brains can, and absolutely do, change.
And this, right here, is the central conflict. It's the big showdown. On one side, you have the old, rigid belief that once you're an adult, your brain is a done deal, it's static. But on the other side, we have this groundbreaking, incredible new reality that our brains are constantly, actively rewiring and rebuilding themselves every single day.
So let's start with that old lie, because you have to understand it dominated scientific thinking for a very long time. The general agreement was simple and kind of grim. After you hit a certain age in childhood, the structure of your brain was basically locked in for good. I mean, just stop and think about the implications of that for a second. It meant that if you had a brain injury, that was it. The damage was permanent. It meant that whatever you were naturally good or bad at was basically your destiny. It was just a fundamentally limiting and, as we now know, totally incorrect view of what we're capable of.
But then, a revolution started to bubble up. A brand new concept came along that just completely shattered that old, rigid model. And that idea was neuroplasticity.
So what in the world is it? Well, to put it simply, neuroplasticity is the brain's proven, built-in ability to change its own structure and its own function. It's the actual physical process that lets it forge new connections and literally reorganize its own wiring based on everything you do, everything you learn, and every single experience you have.
And if you need a way to remember the core principle, this catchy little phrase just nails it. Neurons that fire together, wire together. See, every time you do something or even think a thought, a specific chain of neurons lights up. And the more often they fire together, the stronger and more efficient that connection becomes. They're literally wiring themselves into a team. And this leads us to what is maybe the most powerful takeaway of all. This isn't some abstract theory, okay? Your daily habits, the skills you choose to practice, the thoughts you decide to focus on, all of it is physically sculpting the connections inside your brain. You are the architect of your own mind. So how does this actually work? What's the proof? Let's take a look at the concrete evidence for how these incredible changes actually happen.
A really great way to picture this is to think of brain maps. Imagine that every single skill you have, whether it's playing guitar or speaking Spanish or even just juggling, exists as a physical territory mapped out in your brain. The more you practice, the bigger and more detailed that map gets. And if you stop practicing, that map literally starts to shrink.
And the amazing thing is we can actually see this on brain scans. Scientists have found that the part of the brain that controls the left hand is measurably larger in violinists. We see it in elite athletes, in people who speak multiple languages, and maybe most powerfully, in stroke patients who can literally train healthy parts of their brain to take over for the parts that were damaged. The brain is the ultimate adapter.
The process itself is actually pretty simple when you break it down. It starts with you practicing a new skill, which makes specific neurons fire together. As you keep repeating it, that connection gets stronger and stronger. But then comes the real magic trick, the biological secret that makes a skill feel automatic. That speed upgrade has a name. It's called myelin. As you practice, your brain starts wrapping that active pathway in this fatty, insulating substance. Think of it like the rubber coating on an electrical wire. Myelin makes the signal travel way, way faster. And that is what turns a clunky, conscious effort into a smooth, unconscious skill. It's the biology of mastery.
So we've seen how physical practice can build these bigger, faster highways in the brain. But here's where things get truly mind-blowing. This whole process, it isn't just for physical skills. The exact same rules apply to your thoughts.
That's right, purely mental training has visible, physical effects on your brain. Studies show that regular meditation can literally change the brain's attention circuits. Things like cognitive behavioral therapy can help reshape the neural pathways that control our emotional responses. Your thoughts are not passive. They are active agents of change.
So the really critical point here is this. Where you choose to put your focus is one of the most important decisions you make all day, every day. Your attention acts like a spotlight, telling your brain, hey, strengthen this circuit, let that other one fade away. It is a true superpower for changing your own mind.
Okay, so you've put in the practice, you've focused your attention, you've done the work, right? Well, there's one last absolutely critical piece of the puzzle that you need to make all those changes actually stick. And that final piece is sleep.
It turns out your brain doesn't do its major construction and renovation projects while you're awake and using it. Nope, it waits until you're asleep. That's when it gets to work, consolidating memories, strengthening the skills you practiced all day, and cleaning out the connections you don't need anymore. And the takeaway from this is just brutally simple. If you don't get enough good quality sleep, you are literally short-circuiting the entire process of neuroplasticity. You can practice all you want, but without sleep, the brain simply cannot lock in those changes for the long term. So when you put all of this together, the constant rewiring, the power of where you place your attention, the importance of practice and sleep, it all leads to this really profound shift in how you can see yourself. Your brain isn't some fixed, static thing that defines who you are. Instead, your brain is a living, breathing, dynamic reflection of what you repeatedly do, what you repeatedly think, and what you repeatedly pay attention to. You aren't your brain. You're the one who gets to use your brain, and you have way more power to change it than you ever thought possible. Which really just leaves us with one final, and I think pretty inspiring question. Knowing that your brain is ready and waiting for instructions, that it will physically adapt to whatever you choose to focus on and practice. What will you teach it to do next?